Hey, this is Brother Jason. Good to see you this morning, and Happy New Year. We are walking into 2021. I hope it's going to be a great year. In fact, today, what I'm going to be doing for just a few minutes, I'm going to be sharing some of our highlights from 2020. Now, you and I looking back, we may think, well, there wasn't a whole lot to 2020 other than heartache and pain and discouragement and sickness, elections, all kinds of things, disruption of our normal. And there was a lot of that. There's no question about it. But this past couple of weeks, I did something that I always do this time of year. I look back on the year, and I take a calendar, and I begin to look back through the church calendar, through treasurer's reports, and all kinds of statistics, and I begin to put together a little bit of a review. And so today, that's what I want to share with you. And so thank you for joining me. We'll take a few minutes to look at 2020 and just some highlights. I don't have any photos, but I will have some images that will come up on the screen that I'll share with you. And these are in no particular order, so let's go. First off, I want to talk about missions giving back in 2020 and what our church accomplished in missions giving. Now, our church gives the Lottie Moon every year, and we usually have a pretty sizable goal, and I'm so proud of that. We send that in January, so the numbers I'm going to give you here today are January numbers, and so we're currently still taking up Lottie Moon for this year, but what we sent in January of 2020, we sent in a little over $11,000 to Lottie Moon this past year. Amazing. Annie Armstrong, which is our Easter offering, $2,295. State missions offering, which is our golden offering, $2,225. And that money stays within the state of Tennessee. And some of it actually comes back to our association. Trek X, Winston and Emmy Coulthard, they're in Zimbabwe. We have given to them to help support them $400 a month. And throughout this past year, that comes out to be about $4,000 when you take a look at the year and what we send in per month. Here I Am Ministries in Honduras, $2,500 given to that ministry. Amazing. Gideon's International, our church budgets about $1,000 every year, and we give that to the Gideons, but then we also take up an offering. Our offering was over $800, so over $1,800 given to Gideon's International. Operation Christmas Child. Here in November, December of 2020, we packed over 150 boxes. That is you giving throughout the year and giving financially, but then giving and donating items. And then we had a handful of our folks put those items together. Due to COVID-19, we did not have our big night of loading the boxes, but we had a handful of volunteers that worked hard on that. So over 150 boxes to Operation Christmas Child. Again, that's international missions, and the gospel is shared through that. Plus, we have other items. If you'll take a look at the screen, you'll see Lighthouse Christian Camp. We give to Lighthouse every single year. Project Graduation, we make a set donation for that community event. Relay for Life, which is for cancer patients and cancer research and survivors. We give to Relay for Life every year, whether they had the event or not, whether they were able to have it due to COVID-19 or not. We sent that money. Education Celebration, we donated school supplies to Education Celebration. We took that to DeKalb West School, but then also we gave financially out of the budget to Education Celebration. And so our missions given, and listen, there's other things. Time won't permit me to cover everything, and hopefully this is fairly inclusive, but I'll probably leave something out. But it's amazing the missions giving, not to mention your support of the budget this past year for our normal operation as a church and all the logistics, all of the overhead that we have. Thank you so much for supporting Salem Baptist Church in 2020, and also international missions, local missions, state missions, and listen, that's a great highlight. So hats off to you, Salem, for your missions giving this past year. Now, moving on, the next area I want to talk about for just a minute is community involvement. This past year it seemed like every other event was canceled due to COVID-19. We're not able to have the fair ministry. We were not able to have a fall revival. The Smithville Jamboree did not take place. There's a lot of things that just didn't happen. But our community involvement, we were able to do some things that hopefully made a difference. And I'm just going to share some of those. So take a look at the screen and you'll see some of these. And again, your financial giving helped made this possible, and your volunteering made this possible. But you see, in community involvement, we fed the DeKalb County High School basketball teams. That's something that we try to do every year. We fed their teams, and that's well over, I think it's like 40 or 50 people when you include the coaches and managers, cheerleaders, everyone. So we fed the DCHS basketball teams. We also fed the DeKalb County High School football team, which is an army of players, managers, cheerleaders, coaches, you name it. It's a big group, but we feed the football team. And that one financially is something that is a great, it's an expense, but it is investing in our community. It is saying to our high school athletics, listen, we care about you. We thank you for what you do and the sacrifice that you make. And so the DeKalb County High School football team, we fed them. We also served at the Hope Center. Kenward Griffith Sunday School class had made a commitment that they would serve and that they would give, and people have donated to the Hope Center. It is an association ministry, but our church volunteered on many Thursdays. Due to COVID-19, that was cut back quite a bit, and we weren't able to go a lot. I've been able to go some, flying solo, but earlier in the year, we had a number of folks that went and served at the Hope Center, and so thank you for that. That's great community involvement. It's ministry. We also led food distribution for Dowtown, Liberty, and Alexandria churches at the DeKalb County West School. When COVID-19 hit, there were some food distributions that took place in Smithville, and also Smithville at DeKalb Middle School, and then also down here at DeKalb West School. I was asked, along with David Ravel, to be sort of the point men down here, and so we organized the churches that would volunteer and help give out the food. David Ravel and I would transport that food from DeKalb Middle School down here to DeKalb West School, and it was once a week and sometimes twice a week, and our church served in that a handful of times, but you allowing me to be a point man helped our church in that community involvement. So thank you so much for doing that, and thank you for serving. Also, our Sunday school mission strategy, we launched that this year. We weren't able to do that every quarter, but we did get the first one in, where our Sunday school classes had a night of celebration at the end of February. If you remember, I had the flu and I missed that night, but it was a great night of testimonies of what classes did. But our Sunday school mission strategy launched with its first celebration in February. A lot of ministries or a lot of mission opportunities carried out by classes. And so, again, that's great community involvement. Also, we had a back-to-school prayer time at DeKalb West School. That was in August as school was approaching. Our church, West Main, was there. Upper Helton, some of their folks were there. And so we had a back-to-school prayer time at DeKalb West. Probably had about 50 or 60 people overall there. Again, community involvement. School supply donations for DeKalb West I mentioned earlier. Not to mention we took some donuts to them. We did some donut ministry, and I didn't list that, but that's been some fun times delivering donuts. So that's just some of the community involvement in a COVID year, a 2020 year that seemed like there was very little that we could put on the positive side of the ledger. But as you can tell, in just these two areas alone, missions giving and community involvement, it's been a productive year. Next, I want to talk about a handful of things related to ministry, media ministry, and additions to the church. So take a look at this image here. Media ministry, we had over 3,000 hits between January and December on our website. Over 3,000. In fact, the day I'm recording this, we're going to go over the 4,000 hit number on our website, sbcliberty.com, since we started it, which was October of 19. And so over 3,000 of those hits came within this calendar year. That tells me a few things. It tells me that people are checking out our church, that people are finding us online, that our people are sharing our our website with their friends on Facebook and otherwise. And also, too, the gospel's on our website. They can hear a message. They can hear about things that are going on at our church. They can see images of photos. They can hear podcasts. They can read blogs. The gospel presentation is there in a video. They can find out our Sunday school teachers, who they are. There's just a lot of information, our staff information. So our website is being hit on, and again, in this past year, over 3,000 times. So thank you for helping share this media ministry opportunity with our world. Next, you'll see on the list published over 190 Facebook videos that share the gospel. Now, we're talking about the Sunday morning message. We're also talking about devotions that me and Abram and others have done. Sunday school lessons. Kim Fouch and Wade Hancock did Sunday school lessons there, if you remember, early in COVID for a number of weeks. And hats off to them. And that's a lot of hard work. It's tough to keep going when no one's on the other side of the room and it's just you and a camera. But Wade and Kim and Abram and myself, we did that. But then also we've got Amanda and Zach behind the scenes that are working on Facebook Live, working on our media ministry as a whole, and it was a great year in media ministry for our church. We also, if you notice on the screen, we launched Call Multiplier, which is a phone tree ministry. We launched that in the last number of weeks. We've already had a few calls on that where it's helping us stay connected and helping us stay informed about what's going on. Call Multiplier, our phone tree, is going to be a great asset to us as we move on in the future. And so I'm excited about that. We won't send a lot of little stuff. We'll make sure it's announcements concerning inclement weather and also worship service changes, funeral arrangements, things like that. We will share. So we launched that ministry this year. That's another plus in this year. Also, additions, we had 2 baptisms this year on the annual church profile, which runs from September 1 through August 31st. So we had 2 baptisms, and we had 2 other additions. And on a COVID year, we're thankful for anyone that gets saved. We're thankful for any new face that God brings to our church. We're used to baptizing more people than that, but we're thankful for every single one. So we celebrate that on this year of 2020, and we're thankful. Now, those are just some things. So we've talked about missions giving, community involvement, media ministry. What else? Well, there's other things. There's fellowship opportunities. So we were able to have some fellowship opportunities this year. And so take a look at the screen. Here's a handful of opportunities. We had a men's breakfast in January with Brother Bill Robertson. Had a good attendance on that. Good word from Brother Bill. Great food. Our ladies prepared this food, and we just had a great time. Great time of fellowship. We kicked the year off early on with that. There was a women's retreat at Riverwatch. It seems like that's been many moons ago, but it was in 2020, early in the year. Women's retreat at Riverwatch. A good handful of women that were there. Had a great time of fellowship. Men's chili cook-off. Now, again, Kevin Roberts and I, we put out that commercial for it. Both of us were sick and were not able to participate. But the men's chili cook-off was a fun night. Had some great photos that we uploaded from that. And it was just a time of fun. So we're thankful for the time we got to have goofing off with that. But then also, the return of the senior adult banquet. The much-needed return of the banquet. It had not been... we had not had a banquet maybe a year or two, something like that, or a few years. And we brought it back. Some of the young adults asked me what I felt about it, and I'm like, let's do it. Now, I'll be honest, I was scared to death. I had no idea that you could practice at the last minute and still pull off a good night, and we certainly did. But the return of the senior adult banquet was a highlight of 2020, and little did we know that COVID-19 was right around the corner from shutting down our country, and so it's one of the last great events that we had before the shutdown. Also, if you take a look at the list, youth volleyball during the spring and summer. One of the things that I noticed where our net needed help, and so I ordered a new volleyball net. Eugene and I installed that net. We had different people come along. Jackie Brown come along and fluffed up our sand a number of times. And so we sort of raised our volleyball court from the dead. And our youth played volleyball down there in the spring and summer a number of times. Abram had them down there, and then they would meet down there after church and just have a great time. And so we're thankful for that. One of the things that was hindered this year is like youth events. We could not. Abram could not take youth to some of the events like normal. A lot of things were canceled, and youth conferences and all kinds of youth opportunities weren't there. But Abram worked with our youth, and they had some fun times here, playing some volleyball. And then on Wednesday nights, they had some games and had some fun times in the fellowship hall. So thankful for that, even though we were in COVID-19. Also, take a look at the list. The graduation or the graduate celebration in May, well attended. And that was our first Sunday night back, where we had been out for a while on Sunday nights. And so, great graduate celebration, fun time there. And then the Halloween ministry. As far as fellowship opportunities, that's ministry, but it's also fellowship opportunities. The Halloween ministry was a little low-key this year. We didn't know what we were going to have in terms of turnout because of the pandemic. It was a pretty good night, and so it was a great night of fellowship. So there's benefit from that. Even when we may have seen 100 people come through, I think there's a lot of room to expand our Halloween ministry in the future years. And so, again, that's just some of the fellowship opportunities. Not all of them. I can't list them all, but that's just some of them. The last category I want to talk about is facility improvements. And so take a look at the screen. Here's a handful of things that took place in 2020 while we were in a difficult year. The facility was helped in a number of ways. One of those, we did put LED lights in the fellowship hall. A number of guys installed those. I don't know if that was in the calendar year of 2020 or if we did that just before Christmas, but the LED lights were put in at the end of 19, early 2020. I couldn't find my date, but that's a great addition to our facilities, is that the fellowship lights they're very bright. They're going to be easier to maintain, and a big room like that's with a tall ceiling, it's going to be a help. So that took place. Also, if you notice on the screen, added concrete steps between the lower parking lot and the parsonage. That's something that had been needed for years, and we nipped that in the bud and took care of that. Thank you. Hats off to the maintenance committee, building and grounds committee that said, you know what, we want to do that. We were in COVID-19 lockdown when that took place. We had approved through the business meeting adding a sidewalk out front and helping the handicap area out front. But they posed the question to our maintenance committee. The concrete contractor did. He said, "Hey, why don't we try to do those steps while we do this sidewalk work in front of the church?" The deacons met. We all discussed that and decided that even though we couldn't approve that like normal, we felt like that our church trusted us with making that decision. Great decision. Hats off to our leaders for choosing to go forward with that. So great project. Next, you'll notice on the screen, purchase new secretary's desk and copier. And so we got a new copier, and it's a small copier, but it does a great job. And we've got a new desk for our secretary and treasurer as they work in there off and on throughout the week. It looks like a new penny in there as far as the desk. Hopefully, my heart is I want to help equip the saints for the work of the ministry. And having the right desk and having the right amount of workspace helps everyone, which leads us to the next bullet point on the screen. We purchased 2 desks for our media ministry and added the privacy wall that matches the trim of the church. Zach and Amanda are back there running our media ministry, and we made an investment in 2019 in a sound booth or sound board, and spent a lot of money back there, well needed. And then what we simply did this year is we came in and gave them some privacy. We added some security by putting the wall there. It protects the investment that we've made. Give them some really good work desks and new chairs where we can lift them up higher. And so we've done that recently in 2020. Also in 2020, notice the last bullet point. We replaced the roof on both sanctuary wings. That came up with the maintenance committee bringing that to the church and approving that bid. And the bid was about $12,000, $13,000 to do both sides. What's interesting is that in 1927, when this church was built, it cost about $12,000 to build the original structure. And so that's interesting how dollars have changed. But nevertheless, our maintenance committee got that taken care of. The contractor was here right around Thanksgiving time, and he got that taken care of. In 2 days, he had a number of workers here and just got it. So no more leaks on those wings. Those are well taken care of, well into the future. And again, that's some facility improvements that took place in 2020. And so when you take a look here and you look back on the year, there's a lot of things that didn't happen. I get it. But there's a lot of things that happened too. And so Salem, I'm proud of you. Proud to be your pastor. My family and I are blessed to be here. You've blessed us throughout the year. You've always shown us great support. You've blessed us whether it was my birthday or Christmas or pastor appreciation. You've done so many things that have just blessed our family, and we want to say thank you. And as your pastor, I want to say that I'm proud of our church for what we were able to do, and we were very united in 2020. Regardless of how difficult this time was, we were very united. Hats off to our deacons and their ability to work with me as a newer pastor. I found that during this time of COVID-19, our leaders, we began to know a little bit more about one another, and the trust level, it was already great. When I first come, I think our church as a whole, our leaders trust me early on, and but through this past year, I think that has risen, and all I know is that spells out that God's going to use us to do some really good things together. And I'm excited about 2021, excited about the possibilities of what all God would have us do this year. There's some things that we weren't able to do this past year that we will try to do this year. And just be praying about God's will and ask the Lord to help us know the things He'd have us do. And our mission is, listen, we're here to win souls. We want to worship the Lord, but we're here to lead the lost to Christ. We want to be soul winners. We want to show people the love of Jesus Christ. We want people to come to faith in Christ, and we want them to have a personal relationship with Him. And then we want to have an opportunity to help them grow in that relationship by sharing the Bible with them and discipling them as they go along. But our church, there's 3 things you'll find on the website that talks about our purpose. We're seeking God, sharing Christ, and serving others. That's what we're here to do. And so in 2020, I think we did a lot of that. And in 2021, I think we're going to do a lot of that again. Let's pray for the Lord's will to be done. And thank you so much for your commitment to Salem Baptist Church. Looking forward to when we're able to meet and do everything that we want to do. For now, stay connected. Stay connected to this church body. If you have been someone that's not been able to come in a number of months, be sure and stay connected. The things that we post on Facebook, the information we're sharing on Call Multiplier, go to the website ever so often because there's information changing there. Stay connected. I'm available in the office. I'm in and out of the office every day. I can be found so easily. Call me on my cell phone. You've got my number. It's on the bulletin. Email me, whatever it is. I'm available to you. Anyhow, we had a great 2020, even though it was difficult, and we're going to have a great 2021. I love you. God bless, and let's have a great new year.